Are you from the UK? Probably not because it's 6 a.m. People from the UK are sleeping. I shouldn't have picked a topic when I discuss about the United Kingdom at this hour. But I guess it's a relevant topic for Europe. A lot of governments have decided that farmers are bad people, have decided that the regulations aren't enough. And I look at a lot of liberal elites and liberals that live in the cities, and they do seem to go with the motto, fuck the people who make our food. And it's a severe lack of understanding for what a farmer is, and it's also dragged from the ideology of leftism that you need to hate rich people. Like all rich people are bad, and farmers are very wealthy, and they usually go around and they will point out that this farmer is making, his income is like 4 million pounds, and this one has like 5 million. And it drives the hate. You know, leftists are really professional at driving hate. They say that they don't like hate, but they do. And they have like this subliminal way of teaching young men who to hate. And one of those is like priming them in schools and in other places to hate rich people. And then it's like, well, this guy is rich, right? So like when they say this guy is rich, they don't actively break any TOS. They're not doing any community guideline violation. But what they're doing is they're using the dog whistle. And in the case of farmers, it is true. Like some of them are more wealthy than any person I know. But when you look at it, their lifestyle is worse than mine. So how can it be that a person that, let's say, has an income or like a total net worth of 6 million pounds, how can they have like a worse lifestyle than mine? Like how can they be surrounded with amenities that are less than the ones that I use? Because I never seen 200,000 pounds, let alone a million. And anyone that even plays video games can know this. Like anyone that plays Farming Simulator will automatically know why the life of a farmer is the way it is. Because you see, the farmer, like, he inherits the land. He doesn't actually buy it. So like he got it from his father got it from the father before him, and the father before him got it before that. And he's not going to sell the land, he's just going to give it to his descendants. And the land itself is valuable. I mean, if they were to sell the land, yeah, sure, they would get like $1 million or whatever. But they don't ever actually have that much money in their bank account. Like, they have that much money in the deeds, in the house that they have, that stuff, but like, it's not in their bank account. So this is why the farmer are living a worse lifestyle than most city folk, despite the fact that they're so rich. And then you also look at how much money are they actually producing. Well, a lot of the tools they buy are extremely expensive. Like a tractor can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, not just one, but like the whole tractor is required. You know, the tools, the utensils, following the regulations, like all of that is extremely expensive. All of the farm equipment is expensive. And at the end of the day, the stuff they produce and they sell to the market after it gets taxed by the government, they make around maybe like 30,000 pounds a year. Right? So basically, farming is not a job that you do for money. Farming is a lifestyle. This is what a lot of liberals don't understand, and why I argued with a lot of liberals. They treat farming like the service industry, like opening a restaurant or something. It's not compatible. Farming is a lifestyle. People rarely want to become farmers. Like, you don't have a city folk, and, you know, he's going through university. Sorry, he's going through high school, and he's like, you know what I want to do when I grow up? Like, well, I want to be a farmer. Like, that rarely happens. It's not impossible, but it's like very rare. Like, most people become farmers because their parents were farmers, and it's a lifestyle. And these are like some of the people that literally do not bother anyone. Like, they're the definition of people that just want to be left the fuck alone. They just want to make dinner, lunch, and breakfast for you. That's it. So yeah, they're probably making less than minimum wage, but like take into account that they also live off the land. So while they don't make like that much money, they don't have to buy food because they can eat their own food. That's why, but when you look at it, it's like, wow, they're millionaires. I mean, their house is worth £1 million and their land is worth £2 million. And when you put it together, wow, like these are the people that go to vacations in Fiji and they go on yachts and they have all of this. They surround themselves with hookers, strippers, but like, no, like their land is worth that, but they're not selling it. They don't all work all the hours of the day. Yeah, that's also true. They actually don't work every single hour a day. But my point stands, right? Like your lifestyle, if you're in the city and you go out clubbing and you work 8 hours a day and you go to restaurants and you have access to like a very high-end gaming rig and you're playing all these video games and you have access to a luxurious car and shit like that, your life is much better than a farmer that's richer than you. And again, like they don't really need that much cash because they also eat the stuff they produce, right? So like they don't have to buy groceries because they make their own stuff. Um, yeah. By the way, do not confuse farmhands with the farmer, because that's also a different thing. Like if you're shoveling cow manure for pesos, that's not being a farmer. That's being a farmhand. But regardless, my point is that it's a lifestyle, and it's how people in the rural areas behave. So when the government constantly puts regulations on them, they're saying, "Oh, you can't have an old combine. You need to buy a combine that's made after the year 2021." Well, basically, the ones that are made after 2021 rarely, if ever, have the right to repair. Like, this is something that bewildered me in the United States. Apparently, a lot of farmers are going to auction houses to buy farming equipment that was made in the 70s. And it's like, why the fuck would they do that? Like, what's wrong with the new one? And the answer is like the new one, when it breaks down, you need to take it into a special shop so that they look at the software. It's like, what? Why does it have software? Like, you can't repair it anywhere you want, right? So it's incredibly expensive to repair when broken. And meanwhile, old combines, oh, they got defective. You just switch out the parts and they're good to go. And they don't have any software. They can't get hacked by the Russians. Um, their life revolves around work. Farm work doesn't stop because it's Saturday. It's true. The thing is, though, there's like two different types of farming. You have the average Joe that's a farmer and he farms his crops. And then you have like the corpo farmers, like large corporations that own huge amounts of land. And they're the ones that give you the chicken that tastes like shit. And they're the ones that hire immigrants and they pay them below minimum wage and all that stuff. And people like to compare them with the farmer, which, like it's true. But this is what the government wants. They want everyone to be the corporation. Like, they don't want more farmers that are like the random bloke that lives off the land. No, they want to get rid of that. And in Britain, for instance, like the government wants to buy the land of certain farmers so that they can install solar panels on it. So that they can put concrete over there and make solar panels. And it's like, oh. John Deere is the HP printers of farming. Apparently, John Deere wanted to leave the United States before Trump got into office. It's obvious that farmers don't eat just the food they grow. But the food they grow, like, it gets cut out from the grocery bills. So, like, I actually did live in a rural area, and I know. Back in the day, they would just trade with their neighbors. But most of the time, yeah, like most of the food that I would eat was grown in the house. So every single morning we would have milk and eggs, and that was stuff that was grown, so you don't have to buy it. During the afternoon, we would still have like a Romanian dish called babaliga, and it was like with a chicken that was sometimes that was almost always grown from the house. So very rarely did they buy meat outside the house. And then you had like sausages and very other stuff. No, I would say that more than 50% of the stuff that I ate was made in house. So that actually does take a lot off the grocery bills, right? Like a city dweller like myself, for instance, now we can afford to go to a McDonald's, we can afford to go to a restaurant, we can afford to order from Uber Eats. We just buy a lot of food, it is different, yeah. Like when you're a farmer, you actually can afford not to spend a lot of money on food because you're growing it yourself. This wasn't during Ceausescu time, by the way. Ceausescu wouldn't let you grow your own food. So, like, during Ceausescu, which is probably what Britain would want to accomplish, the concept of owning property didn't exist. People in the West don't understand what real communism is. They usually flirt with it like an ideology, but they generally don't think it would be implemented. From birth, under communism, you were indoctrinated that the collective is the only thing that matters. Like when you say human resources, you need to apply that as a thing. Like you are literally a resource. You are a cog. You do not have any individuality. In fact, like individuality was a Western concept, is degenerate. You live for the collective. So you are going to do what you're told. It doesn't matter if you want to be this or that. You will be told what you will be. It doesn't matter where you want to live. You will be told where you live. Like anything was central planned. You as a human being, you had to dedicate everything for the collective. You had no free will. That was what the party was trying to instill in people. Obviously, people didn't believe that, and they thought it's horseshit, but that was the propaganda. And the concept of getting paid for your work by another person was illegal. Like if you knew how to build a ditch and you went to your neighbor and you said, hey, if I build you a ditch, you give me money, that was illegal. That was exploitation. It was treated like slavery. The only way that a person could make money was to work for the government. That's it. You could not make a transaction between two people. Like if you went to your neighbor's house and you asked them for 2 spoons of sugar, and they would ask you to pay for that, that was illegal. That's exploitation, right? Like the country was surrounded by a border, and they would shoot you if you tried to flee, because you were not a person. You were a tool of the state. Like you were a resource that the government used. You didn't belong to yourself. You couldn't run away. So that's communism. Now, when it comes to farming, farmers didn't have their own land. The land was taken away, and the government would central plan in these co-ops, these farmer co-ops, that if you were a farmer, you were forced to work in. So as a farmer, you would sign in for the co-op, and then you would be assigned a duty, and you would do it. You didn't actually get to have your own land and raise whatever you want. Now, if you wanted to raise chickens or cows in your own household, I think like for cows, you had to donate like 90% of the cow to the government. So after slaughtering the cow, you would keep 10% of the meat, and 90% of the meat had to go to the government. So that's what communism is. We literally don't, because the exception doesn't disprove the rule. If you speak worst case scenario, you will get destroyed in an argument. What? This is not even an exception. This is like what was in every single communist state in the Soviet Union. Like this was part of the ideology. It was part of the philosophy. They consider that this way of thinking is the next step of evolution for mankind. They call it hominus sovieticus, the Soviet man, right? So like you have... all the way from the Neanderthal, like Homo sapiens, Homo sapiens sapiens, and then Homo sovieticus. Like this was what the party, the ideology believed, that this way of thinking is so enlightening that it's the next step of evolution. Hello, AgriJager. And then the government decided to take, since the government owned all the food, they decided to pay off the national debt. So, like, they would sell the food outside, right? Like, they would sell all the grains and all the food, and they would sell it outside. And the people had to live on the rations. Yeah, it's awful. Like, when I see Western people advocating for communism, it unironically makes me sick. And it makes me sick because they don't know what they're asking. Or they're downplaying it, or they're thinking that it's not going to happen the way they say. It's like, no, the moment the government is going to have access to everything, they're going to manage it in the way they want. Apparently, by the way, a new poll is showing that Elon Musk is more liked in Britain than Keir Starmer. Now, here's the funny thing. Apparently, the people in Britain decided... the politicians in Britain decided to summon Keir Starmer. Fuck. I'm sorry, chat. It's really early. It's 6:30 a.m., so... What I wanted to say is that the politicians in Britain, they want to summon Elon Musk to answer for the misinformation that goes on Twitter. And you're looking at this and you're like, who the fuck do these people think they are? like the level of hubris that you need to have to believe that just because you're a politician in Britain, you can summon a person from the US administration to answer questions. No, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, first of all, nothing that Twitter did is illegal in the US. Like, the concept of misinformation falls under the First Amendment. I'm sorry, but this is the truth, right? Like if it didn't, here's what would happen. Imagine if you go to a car salesman and they tell you that this car runs great, and when you go into the car, it goes, right? Then you should be able to sue the car salesman for misinformation. Like, you should be able to go to prison for misinformation. So, the very fact that the British politicians think they can actually summon Elon Musk, who, by the way, is now associated with the Trump administration, so he's part of the US government, it's ridiculous. But like, this is the arrogance that not just Britain, but the European Union is displaying. Like, I remember the guy in the EU in charge of, like, social media, and he was like, oh, we are very concerned that Elon Musk is going to have an interview with Trump. We're going to monitor it very carefully, and Elon Musk, you need to take care. And when J.D. Vance says, EU, if you don't shut the fuck up, we're going to pull away from NATO, they're all gasping. They're like, oh, but you can't do that. No, you can't. Like, we're the mummy here. We tell you what to do with this for your own good. We make the regulations. If you pull out from the EU, who's going to make the regulations? Like, you guys, you're the dumb brutes. You know how to make stuff. You know how to make social media. You know how to make military equipment. You know how to make all of that. But what you don't know is how to regulate it. This is where we come in. Like, unironically, the European Union is the HR lady in the international order. It's like the old HR hag that doesn't produce anything, that if you're trapped on an island, on a deserted island, she won't be able to help with anything. She's just the type of person that tells you to move the couch to the left and now move it to the right and back to the left. Trump needs to name Elon Musk as ambassador of the UK. See, the thing with, like, what the UK is doing to farmers, I'm pretty sure there are loopholes, because it's not so easy what they're trying to accomplish, but, the very idea that they view farmers as the enemy is the problem. But basically, like, they put the inheritance tax on the farmers. So now it's like, I think like 25% of what you're passing down, you need to pay the government. So one of the things that I thought, like if it happened in Eastern Europe, what people would do would be to stop using the inheritance. Basically, donate while you're alive, right? So, like, you're alive, you donate everything to your son, and there you go. Start a company. Like, you can start a limited company. You put all your lands on the company, and then you put the son as one of the shareholders, and there you go. Like, there are ways that you go around the inheritance process. It's kind of like, if we had the same laws that Americans have when it comes to marriage, people here would just stop marrying. Like here in Eastern Europe, having benefited from communism, what you learn that happens, and this happens relatively quickly, people don't rebel. Like, they don't go onto the streets, they don't riot, they don't protest, they don't do anything like that. They just find out how is it that we can make it very difficult for the government to accomplish what it wants to accomplish. So, like in the case of, the government put that inheritance tax, okay, let's stop using the inheritance system. Like, let's find out every single possible way that we can avoid using it. What else do we have? Like, okay, we have donations. Well, while the son is alive and the father is alive, donate the farm to the kid, to the son, right? Obviously, it's not going to be 100% perfect, because it can happen that the father dies before he donates. Maybe the son dies. Like, that's another thing, right? Like, the son can pass away, and then you're fucked. It's a little risky. But like, again, this is just like something that I came up with within a couple of minutes of thinking. Like, I'm pretty sure that a person that is into the legal system, like a lawyer or someone, and he knows British law, can figure out ways that you can bypass legally the inheritance system without having to pay that extra fee. Start a non-profit. Like I'm pretty sure there must be ways. It takes years to move land into a trust or corporation. Well, you gotta do it. I mean, the government makes it hard for you, so you need to make it hard for the government. We need to have a separate court and parliament away from London. I don't think voting will end the civil service. The no-go zones is pretty much what they would do in America, I think. Like, if this was done in the United States, they would probably just have no-go zones. Like, they would have... But, like, Britain law doesn't allow people to have firearms. Because I was actually talking about that, and it's like, how would the extremist MAGA look like? Right? Because they're not the type like the BLM to riot and destroy buildings. I know the press likes to talk about January 6th, but, like, most of the people there weren't armed. They weren't, like, trained militiamen. They weren't trying to take the... Like, okay, you take the building, and then what? But, like, let's actually talk about how it would look like if you had, like, MAGA extremists, right? Like, people that are unironically keep your rifle by your side mentality. They would just start no-go zones. Like, they would be in rural areas where they would just not cooperate anymore. They would refuse to pay taxes. They would refuse to do anything. Because that's the American mindset. And by the way, the governor of California has the exact same American mindset. I know he's a Democrat, but apparently he's still American. He's basically saying that he's going to stop paying the federal tax, which is literally what, like, a no-go zone would look like. Like, he's basically saying, yeah, if Trump is withholding funding from California, then I'm not going to pay the governor the federal tax. So I think that's what would happen. The left is trying to use its own logic against them. The left is suffering a huge PR issue right now. Like, let me see. You got this guy, Harry Sisson. Is he a guy? I haven't looked at the pronouns. Yeah, he doesn't post the pronouns, so I generally don't know if Harry Sisson is a guy or not. But I'll call him he, him. Hopefully I don't get it wrong. He's saying, oh my god, here's Justice Department exhibit obtained from New York Times showing all of Matt Gaetz' payment to different women. Do Republicans really want to defend this? And it's like, okay. Matt Gaetz likes to have sex with women. Hold on. I, as a straight man, am absolutely shocked. Like, what do you mean? He likes to have sex with women? Oh my goodness. But this is the energy secretary of the Biden administration who was caught stealing luggage from women. Not once, but twice. And as I said, like, you guys set the bar so low that nobody cares or believes you're actually morally outraged. Like there is no way you support this, and then you come with a straight face to me to talk about Matt Gaetz. Get the fuck out. I'll talk about Matt Gaetz with someone that didn't support this. But the left does have an interesting concept of normalization, right? So like they believe that if you say sexist jokes, you normalize sexism. If you say racist jokes, you normalize racism. But for some fucking reason, they don't believe that this normalizes Matt Gaetz. And in the last 4 years, everything that the left did, everything was to spite right-wingers. Not only would they pretend that right-wingers don't exist, or they would consider that our grievances aren't real, you know, call your opposition racist, bigots, blah, blah, blah. Like, just refuse to engage. But also, like certain decisions were done specifically out of spite. So you can't, you know, promote the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence at a baseball game. You can't promote the San Francisco Gay Choir with their song, We're Coming for Your Children, and then be outraged at Matt Gaetz, because no one will care at that point. Like you've made it perfectly obvious that most of your decisions are to piss off conservatives. Like, even when you don't have to, even when it wasn't required, like even when you won and you were in charge, you are supporting every single day the idea, how do we piss off conservatives? So you normalize the concept of pissing off the opponent. Just like sexist jokes normalize sexism, racist jokes normalize racism. This normalized the concept that, yeah, like when you're in power, you have to. It's an obligation. Like Donald Trump would fail his supporters if he doesn't piss off the libs because you normalized it. Like, this is normal now. This is what we do. This is the new meta. You created the patch notes. You gotta play by the patch notes. So people don't even, you know, like people don't like Trump in the sense that they want to emulate him. They don't like Matt Gaetz in the sense that they want to emulate them. You know, we don't want our kids to grow up like Matt Gaetz. We want to hire Matt Gaetz to piss you off. I know it's hard to believe, it's difficult to grasp. You don't want to think that this is the reality, but it is, like I'm telling you. It is. If you say that Matt Gaetz pisses you off, now it's our obligation. Even if we didn't want to, it is our moral duty to put Matt Gaetz in charge. Specifically designed solely to get a knee-jerk reactionary take from you. Your suffering is now our pleasure because when we suffered, you enjoyed it. And now it's just our turn. Like it wouldn't be fair. The laws of the universe would turn around against us if we don't create balance. Like, you enjoyed when we suffered, so now it's our turn. We need to create equality. We need to create some sort of balance. And maybe when you realize, okay, you know what, this is not the way we like to live in, maybe then we can stop. Maybe when you come to the table and you can make some principles that you yourself would fall under and say, all right, well, maybe this is not a good way to run things. Maybe this is not a good way to do things. Sure, we can have that conversation. But until then, this is the game you started. It's like a turn-based game. You had your turn, you played it. And now it's our time to have our turn and play it. And then it will be yours. And so on and so forth. Isn't it a nice game? I hope it is, because you made it. Thank you for the 5 Polish zloty, Mr. Kamil. Sharpstick V, you got the lore wrong. It is implied that she won the first round against the Goddess Squad, but Abe talking to Cinderella about the idea of unalive by Goddess implied they win round 2. Maybe I missed a couple of things because I only played it once, and you know, like it's not a lot of text to go by. But it doesn't matter. The essence of the video, I think it's pure. I think like people get the story. While well written, Red Shoes was evil and 100% got what she deserved. English, by the way. The whole thing with Red Shoes is that she looks very innocent, and you know, I think she can be fixed. I mean, no one that looks that good can be evil. Alex Jones as a press secretary is an absolute must. I agree. Everything that pisses them off, every single thing that pisses them off, is not just must be done, it's an obligation. You cannot, no, seriously, like let me tell you the story of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, right? Because this is once when I actually realized the concept of liberal cruelty and how deep it goes. So the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they are some LGBT activists whose entire purpose is to piss off Christians. I mean, it's not that they're like trying to raise LGBT awareness. No, like they are trying to upset Christians. So they dress up as nuns. They use the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence specifically to design the idea of, you know, like Catholics and nuns and sin. So their whole thing revolves around upsetting Christians. And they have like these dances on Easter where there was like a Jesus in the cross, and some of these ladies were doing strip dancing next to the cross. Again, like it's purposefully antagonistic. Now, I forgot exactly which baseball team they chose. I think it was the Dodgers. Let me check, because I don't want to spread misinformation. Apparently, it's illegal. Yeah, it's the Dodgers, right? So they went to the Dodgers, and when people found out that, and most supporters of the Dodgers are Christians, and when people found out that they're going to be there, they said no. And there was backlash from the audience. They were like, why are you calling the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, whose entire shtick is to mock Christianity? I mean, look at this, right? Imagine if you did this to Muslims. It's the common saying, right? Like, imagine if you did this and you had like a Muhammad in the middle. Like, you're getting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence at the Dodger Stadium, where it's filled with Christians. Like, what are you trying to say? What are you doing? So initially the Dodgers said, all right, we're going to disinvite them. And then there was backlash from the supporters, from the actual liberal elites, that were like, no, this is anti-LGBT, this is homophobic, you gotta invite them. So the Dodgers played with almost an empty stadium, and the next time they invited Gargura and everyone was happy. But the only reason you do this is out of sadism. So what did they do? They gaslit people. They said that this is about homophobia, when it's a group that's specifically designed to mock Christianity. And then they accused Christians of not being tolerant. And I'm not even a fucking Christian and I got offended. Like, hold on a little bit. You're basically accusing Christians of not being tolerant when you're inviting a group that is awfully disrespectful towards Christian in everything they do. Like, this is not just some random drag queens, you know, like some random people that are just performing drag. Like, no, this is ideological. Like, these are like subversive, ideologically driven activists. And you're shocked that Christians don't want to have people mocking them. Right? So, like, you're basically showing that your entire shtick is to mock and ridicule your opponent. So, why are you upset about Matt Gaetz then? Like, his entire purpose is to ridicule you. So now you are trying to build up an echo chamber that stops talking about points and thinks that grouping up and ridiculing people, like, look, it's normalized, all right? Like, first go to the liberals and complain that they did it. Because, again, like, racist jokes normalize racism, sexist jokes normalize sexism. Creating echo chambers normalize echo chambers. So if you're so upset, I get it. I'm sorry that the left did this. I apologize, but it is what it is. Alex Jones for press secretary. Just so you know about the echo chamber, right? Like before we even get to that point, and you're like, oh my god, V, you're doing it. You're the cause of all evil on earth. Why can't you be compassionate? I know that the lefts are pieces of shit, but you're better than this, V. You're better than this. Just give them what they want, V. Just listen to their talking points, because they're so fucking good. For the last 4 years, we've been living in utopia. V, do not turn your back to the left. They are good people, I know this. Alright, let's look at Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur. Now, it's absolutely funny. Cenk Uygur is having a journey, and his destination is going to be to me. I will bring Cenk Uygur to my side, Tom. Tom, you are losing. The echo chamber shall be strong, and Cenk Uygur will be with us. You will be left on the outside, Tom Givith. Tom Givith from the chat, who are concerned about how we do things. You will be left on the outside. You will be alone with your leftists, while we will have Cenk Uygur. Because look here, you fucking bigot. Cenk Uygur goes online and looks at, Elon Musk wants to cut the government? Bullshit. I will give it, if he actually wants to cut the government, why doesn't he ask me? I know what Elon Musk needs to do. So he tweets at Elon Musk called Snark, and it's like, oh, Elon, if you wanna cut the Pentagon, why don't you put me in charge and I'll help you? And Elon goes like, you know what, Cenk? Give me suggestions. Give me suggestions and I'll do it. And Cenk actually gives a suggestion. He's like, every general from the Pentagon should be banned from joining the private sector for the next 10 years. And Donald Trump Jr. goes like, wow, great suggestion, Cenk. We actually discussed that, and we may implement it. So now all the leftists, who are against echo chambers, and they're here to tell us how to do things, like they're here to teach us morality and how to be better people. All the leftists are telling Cenk to fuck off. Like, how dare you collaborate with the enemy? So who was the guy from my chat? Tom Gizis. Right? Tom Gizis, I want you to contact every single leftist that's against Cenk Uygur and moralize them at least the same way you moralize me. Right? Go to every single one of these fuckers and give them the lecture about echo chambers and about how bad it is and how you shouldn't dismiss the arguments from the opposite side and how we all need to join hands and kumbaya and work together. Right? And once you do that, and they're coming to us, maybe we can work something out. But until then, I will dismiss your arguments. Because look what's happening, right? Like, Cenk is now getting attacked for basically doing what he was doing for years. Because this is something else that I noticed in the first Trump administration, and I'm pretty sure I'll notice it now. They used to call it counter-signaling. Like, literally everything Trump did, they would do the opposite. The 2 scoops of ice cream bullshit, right? Like, if Trump read the news and he would say, wow, I read this in the news and it was so interesting, then they would go like, oh, he's pushing misinformation, disinformation, and then they would debunk their own articles. Like, I even saw this. Like, the New York Times would post something, Trump would say, oh, I read this in the New York Times, it's interesting. And then they would debunk their own article. It was so unhinged to the point where the Babylon Bee said that Trump is supporting impeachment, so now Democrats have to be against it. And this is what we're at, right? Like, Cenk Uygur, for the last couple of years, actually did advocate for cutting the funding for Pentagon, for disempowering the Pentagon. So now that he's got someone like Elon Musk, which is in a position of government efficiency, and he's talking about cutting spending and shit, Cenk Uygur is like, okay, I want you to cut this. And Elon Musk goes, yeah, sure. And the left is furious because they got a counter signal. They got to be against, like, they cannot be for it, right? So now Cenk Uygur is caught between a rock and a hard place. That, like, he's noticing that people on his side are completely unhinged. There isn't an echo chamber. Also, for each echo chamber to be bad, you have to be wrong. Well, no, like de facto there is. Like leftists and right wingers rarely talk to each other, and I'm looking at the mainstream media, and please tell me of a show where you have like a table and you have like a Republican and a Democrat talking to each other and debating policy and issues. Like, it just doesn't happen anymore. I'm not saying like the only time it's happening is during the presidential debates. That's it, where you have like right wing policy being discussed with left wing policy. What you have on mainstream media is either it's a right wing channel like Fox News, and they're talking about, look what the left is doing and why it's bad. And then you have like the other mainstream media outlets, which are left leaning, and it's like, look what the right wingers are doing and why it's bad. And they're treating their morality as universal, but like there's never negotiation, talks, debates, none of that. For Tom and bipedal telenovela drama, it is what it is. This is why streaming is difficult. Like when you have a lot of, I told this to other streamers. When you start off and you have very few viewers, so you have like less than 500 viewers, it's going to be difficult to be entertaining by yourself because you constantly have to find things to talk about. But once you have like more than 500 viewers, it becomes easier because you can bounce off the chat. And now that I want to bounce off the chat, I see Tom Gizet's Pergary, and if I just read his Pergary, it doesn't make sense because it's about something completely different than what we're talking about. Which is fine, as long as Tom is having fun, that's good. I would stream games again, Jake, but if I stream a game, I'll get like maybe 30 people viewing, so I'm sorry, but I do get feedback from the audience. Cenk is only moving closer to nearby horses. Goodness. I'm not blaming you, Wantria, unless your name is Tom. Or bipedal species. I'm not exactly paying attention right now. I'm at work, but the main thing is we don't need to lie. But we have the benefit of good faith. It's also the fact that people just don't believe the left anymore. Like after the Me Too movement, after so many false accusations, after so many underhanded tactics, and after seeing the stuff that they're into, again, you cannot name an energy secretary that steals women's clothing. You cannot promote this type of activists at a ball game where most people that are watching are Christians, and then come up and pretend that you have morals and high ground. I'm not saying it's illegal, like you can do it, but like don't expect people to look at you afterwards and say, "Wow, maybe I should fix my mannerisms because I don't want to offend you." I'm laughing how the left flee to Canada only to be told we don't want you here. As an American, if things go bad here, where do we go if it was the last destination? Okay, so the thing with Canada happened during the first Trump administration, and it's like clockwork. Every single time you have like a right-wing populist winning, people want to flee to Canada, and unlike the United States, Canada has borders, and they're told that they can't leave, right? So all of this is like for show. But if you actually want to leave somewhere, I would travel to Eastern Europe. Poland is a really nice place. Even Romania, right? So like if you're a wealthy American, in fact, like if you're a farmer, if you're an American farmer or a British farmer, and you're selling everything and you make like, I don't know, 7,000 pounds, right? You just come to Romania with that money, you can buy so much land in a rural village and you can start farming again. Most people here speak English. Like, you're going to have to adjust and learn the traditions and the way and understand that people are different and the stuff that morally outrages you doesn't outrage other people and that type of thing. But all in all, yeah, like if you're a farmer and you're fed up with your government, that's what I would do. I just move to Eastern Europe. Do I really want that many Americans moving to Eastern Europe? Well, let's see. My chat has 156 viewers. So even if 156 Americans would move to Romania, it wouldn't matter. So yes, I do want it. To be fair, like there are so many villages in Romania that, because like the problem we have is with emigration. So a lot of people have fled the country. And there are villages that are filled with old people and no one young enough to work. So yeah, it would actually be beneficial for my country if Americans came in. Like a culture that's similar, a culture that's built around hard work and respecting others. Yeah, I think that that would actually be beneficial. Do I have snow yet? No, but I heard that it's snowing in the UK. It's not hard to move in Eastern Europe, like especially if you have money. Like if you have £6 million, it's always a way to fix it. I think that for Romania, you have to learn like Romanian history. You may have to learn the Romanian language. But if you're American, you probably get some favoritism. So it's not impossible. Why Eastern Europe? I can just move to New Mexico. I mean, you can. People ask me where, and I told them. I think like Eastern Europe is more stable though, but it's your pick. Is it snowing outside? I mean, I'm not going to check. The drapes are pulled, but if it's snowing, it's snowing. Okay. Tens of thousands of ethnic Hungarians from America moved to Romania to start farms. Yeah, like again, there's a lot of empty land, and it's empty because the farmers passed away and their kids went abroad. So it would actually help the economy. New Mexico probably isn't great for farming. I'm not an expert when it comes to like the quality of the land, the richness of the soil, and all of that. So, you may actually not have the tools that you're used to. Like we don't have like state of the art tools. They're incredibly expensive. So, I mean, you can buy and import them if they meet EU regulations, but chances are you may have to use like an older tractor, an older model of tractor or stuff like that. Don't they resent random Americans moving to Eastern Europe? Absolutely not. The mentality here is that we suffered from communism and Americans were treated like superhumans. Like you're the guys that resisted communism and you brought capitalism and you're very wealthy. So there is like this admiration towards everything that US people do, especially like if you're from Texas. Most people don't have any idea about identity politics or Democrats or shit like that. So if an American moved here, the way people would react is first and foremost, like they would look at you with admiration and they would be like shocked. It's like, wow, you're an American. That's so fucking cool. And then it matters how you behave. So if you're an American from California, people will learn to despise you really fucking quick. Like if you go around moral busybodying others and telling them how to behave and lecturing them about racism and shit, like immediately you're going to be ostracized. But if you try to integrate, you don't judge others. You okay, it's like their customs, whatever. And you're just like trying to mingle, especially if you try to learn a little bit of Romanian. Especially if you try to go to church and you're showing that you're willing to assimilate, then they would absolutely love you. Might even name you the village mayor. I'm not even kidding. Like Americans are treated like rock stars here. It's like, well, they're American. Holy shit. Oh my god. Learning Romanian might be hard. It's kind of like Spanish. If you can learn Spanish, you can learn Romanian. As a Muslim, this reminds me of burning the Quran events on America and Sweden. Why? Again, as people are saying, don't open the floodgates. Dude, I have 170 viewers. If 170 Americans come here, it's not going to make a difference. Yeah, you as a Texan will be treated as a god among men. Like literally, people will try to impress you. Like people will try to show you their farm. They will try to show you like, oh, look how cool it is. They will invite you to their house to feed you the stuff they made, and they will do their absolute best in order to try to impress you. If you're from Texas, you're like a god among. Let me put it this way: if you're from Texas, You're like a Democrat going into a neighborhood with black people. That's how you're going to be treated. You're like AOC going into a neighborhood filled with her constituents back when she was at the height of her popularity. You're saying that a humble Midwest family of 7 could potentially integrate easily with Romania. Yeah, I think Romanian culture is quite compatible with the American culture. Um, there are like again, as long as you're not being a moral busybody, this is what Romanians hate the most. It is when you go around and start judging other people and you know, like not minding your own business but minding the business of others. That would immediately piss them off. Like if you're acting like a Californian, basically, right? If you start telling other people, oh no, you can't say this word. Oh no, you can't say that word. Oh no, you shouldn't behave like this. You shouldn't behave like that. Oh, that joke is offensive. Like that's another thing. A lot of people in Eastern Europe, we have like incredibly dark humor. Like imagine this, right? Imagine if 9/11 happened and the next day people are joking about it. That's how Eastern European is like. And it's because we call it gallow humor. We had communism, so in order to cope with the darkness, we needed to make jokes about everything. So one of the things you would find is that Eastern European people come off as rude when they do that. Like again, imagine you have a mass shooting, and the next day people start joking about it and treating it lightly. That's part of the culture here, right? So if you start like tone policing people, if you start saying no, you can't say this, how can you say that? Oh my goodness. Then you're immediately going to be ostracized. Like people will just think you're a killjoy, you're not fun to be around, etc., etc. Yeah, no, like most problems that we have here are economical in nature. So if you're coming with a lot of money and you're giving jobs to people, holy shit! I mean, they would absolutely love you. Like if you're going into a village where there's already, you know, unemployment and there's problems, and you're going into a village or buying a farm, and now you're giving jobs to people. Oh goodness, goodness! Like they would make you the village mayor. I'm not even kidding. Like they could actually vote for you. Yeah, if you go with jokes about the X are never funny, how can you joke about this? How can you joke about that? Yeah, no, don't do that. Gun laws, unfortunately, are some of the strictest in the world, and you will not have guns. Like, I'm sorry, it's one of the things you have to give up. But it is changing. Romania used to have guns as a culture before World War II. The communists took them away from us. So now I see it slowly starting to change. Like, there are certain professions like forestry, right, being a ranger and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, for these professions, we now allow guns. So like very slowly, there's like more and more people being able to have weapons, but no, it's not like America. Now, you're going to have to learn to defend yourself using a melee weapon, right? Like your ancestors did before the gun was invented. You're going to have to know how to use the axe. You're going to have to learn how to use the stick. I have seen in the rural area people use the scythe. I mean, you just gotta be a little bit more creative, right? You just gotta be a little bit more creative. But the good news is that the crime is also low. So you're not going to have, like, the crime that's... And the wild animals aren't that dangerous unless you go into the mountain area and maybe encountering some brown bears or wolves. But that's... Do nail guns count? I don't know. Probably not. Probably they do, yeah. Sorry. I think any improvised weapon counts as you can use a bow and arrow though, or a crossbow. Poland would probably be better, or you could go to Ukraine and they'll let you have anything you want as long as you fight. That's true. Good morning, V is my favorite gypsy doing today. I'm not a gypsy, but I'm doing great. If you're a decent white guy with a job, you can bleach a Latino woman, but you marry her family and you need to learn Spanish. Yeah, it's kind of the same here. Like it's basically like people will judge you based on your character. Like people aren't very judgmental based on ethnicity here as much as they judge you on your character. Now, there are a couple of exceptions. If you're Hungarian, but even that, like the ethnic conflict between Romanians and Hungarians is dying down. But when I was growing up, it was very strong. So, like, if you're in certain regions of Romania, if they found out that you're ethnically Hungarian, like, it would spark certain tensions that don't exist now. And then it's like if you're Russian, it may also cause some problems, but not a lot. No, like usually people treat you based on how you're behaving, right? So like the content of your character is definitely something that people care about. How are the self-defense laws? Again, usually you don't end up in a situation with self-defense. I mean, it's a country with 20 million people, so it's not never say never. But usually people solve problems with their fists. And in the countryside, yeah, they can use like agricultural tools, melee weapons, but again, it's rare. Like when I was in the hospital, I never saw a case of. I mean, I saw a couple of bar fights, and I saw, a couple of altercation with automobiles, like road rage. But I don't actually get to see a lot of home invasions, a lot of I mean, there is gang activity, obviously, if you're in certain cities. But in recent years, right, like after 2020, Romania has been a more peaceful place. Like, crime has gone low to the point where you don't have to worry about people breaking into your house. What do they think about people from Australia? They will think you're an American. Same with Canada. So Australia, America, and Canada, in the minds of people here, it's like hashtag American. Would you use a scalpel as a self-defense weapon? No. What people use are attack dogs. Like, if you're really that concerned, you live in a dangerous place, you buy a vicious dog, and you keep it in the yard, and then people don't fuck with you.